شو انت هركض مع الصور وهي تشرد. شوف شلون شوف عشان كذي اليابانيين يتشكون من السياح.
You can't do that.
شوف
You can't do that. Oh my goodness. That's so rude.
إذا جيت كيوتو لا تسوون اللي سوتها المرة.
Hello everyone, this is Kozmic Kitsuneame, and today I'm going to be talking about something that for the longest time I've tried to avoid talking about. Even when it started to happen, because at first I just assumed it was just a couple of isolated incidents and maybe it just won't come up again. And when it started to come up again, I still tried not to talk about it because I don't like having that type of energy in the content that I try to talk about. But this to me is a topic that needs to be discussed because I can't really go just about anywhere and not hear about something like this or even see it when I'm not looking for it. Now, I really don't want to show any more clips of that person. I honestly hate even having to state his name. And this to me is part of the problem, and I'll get to it a little later in the video. But I just want to start off by saying that I think social media worldwide is just out of control. Now, I've seen people use it for great good, some great evil, but at this point it's just being used for great stupid, especially when it comes to travel. There are so many content creators who just produce the most abysmal content but make a lot of money from it. And so long as this continues, this behavior will continue. So this type of behavior needs to be shunned worldwide as well. And I've seen people from every background pull this. So it's more to do with culture or manners than anything, in my opinion. Japan is a place that I've always wanted to visit before I leave this world. And I hope that I live long enough to go visit a place. Most people would be lucky to be able to have the money to travel or to make enough to meet people from different walks of life or learn about the food or the culture or whatever. But then there's those that just spit on this opportunity entirely, and they make life harder for everybody else, be they local or foreign. And this is especially disheartening when the reputation right off the bat isn't that good to begin with. You know, a lot of people, especially in the West, and this isn't me trying to place any type of collective blame on this, but there's a lot of people that live in the West and they'll say, oh, we don't like this or that, and you know, people need to learn the rules and learn the language, etc. Well, here's the thing. There's a two-way street on that. If you don't want people coming to air quote essentially your house and acting a fool, don't go to their house acting a fool either. That's how respect works. If you would not do something like that, then yes, you should shun the behavior or talk about it. But if you're also doing the exact same thing, then you don't have room to talk. And this gets me into the comments. When you look at any stream of these people being disrespectful or anything that they do, you'll see a lot of comments of people laughing, cheering them on, donating money. That's part of the problem. And to me, those type of people are just as much as responsible for the behavior almost as the person doing it, because they're encouraging it. And then you have the people who miss the point entirely and try to relegate it to just one group or one instance, thus proving that they are also like that. I have spent, for example, the vast majority of my life living in America. And I'm just going to outright say, in comparison to a lot of other places, yeah, we can come off as rude or loud and stuff like that, but it really just depends on where you are. That isn't the source of the disrespect. The source of the disrespect is when a joke lasts forever, till the person becomes the joke. Jokes are not supposed to be eternal like that. And because of the behavior of these kinds of people, it's created an environment where now people are very hypersensitive, sometimes justifiably, to where you can't joke with them, you can't talk about anything serious, and everything, even wholesome, becomes perverse. And what really gets me when I sit back and I watch stuff like this, or I just happen to stumble across it, is the fact that I've seen people, much like myself, that have relatively good track records, and the moment we make a mistake or we say something like off the cuff or just make the most like lightest joke even about ourselves, people are ready to just fly at you like a bat out of hell. But meanwhile, people like this can continually do bad things, have a bad track record, and face almost no true punishment. I honestly have no idea how this person or any of these people afford to keep doing this. Be it authority, punishment, or local punishment, be damned. I don't know how they are allowed to keep doing this. I halfway believe that these actors are being paid to do this elsewhere, because I run the math in my head here, and I don't see how someone affords to do this daily. Unless they're just, I don't know, streaming every day, but even those streams not getting a lot of views that would facilitate them having that type of money to travel around and do that, and then on top of it get bodyguards. So there's clearly some shady stuff happening, and I've yet to really come across a video that talked about that element, because every country has its dark side, every country has its pros and cons, but I find it very messed up that a person will go to a country where the culture heavily promotes politeness and non-confrontation and still manage to be that way. If anything, as a foreigner or even a tourist, there should be a higher pressure to conform to just the general rules and have a level of respect just for your fellow man. But people don't want to be respectful. I grew up having people either take my kindness for weakness or take that as some type of green light to mess with me. So it isn't really surprising to see videos like this. And I, for the most part, would just ignore it. but it's very difficult when it just becomes a daily thing. I'll put some links in the description box to further explain my point about track record. When you're receiving like straight up reviews and ratings like that, a person like that should not be traveling anywhere or speaking on behalf of anyone, because it becomes a nuisance and a danger to have someone like that around. It endangers people around them, and there are elements of Western culture, and maybe even every culture, if like you just happen to be in a place that just where you have people doing things they're not supposed to do. But you're supposed to check the bad behavior and promote the good behavior. And this behavior definitely needs to be checked. Now, if this happened in the West, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I'm in fact so used to it that I just numb myself to it. So this isn't really a level of shock that I'm experiencing when I talk about this. It was when I was younger, but now I get up, I walk away. It just isn't worth it anymore, because you never know what someone might be on, and so it's just a lot better just let it go and move on. I've had so-called friends that were like this growing up. I've had people I've encountered that just would randomly do this. Hell, a perfect example that comes to mind is a long time ago. I remember I went to the Renaissance Fair, and at the time, the only other time I remember going is when I was a kid or something, but I was a little older, and I thought, oh cool, you know, let's go to the Renaissance Fair. And at the time, these names I'm just going to use at random because I don't really want to get into that whole element of the story, but we'll just say, for lack of a better name, Brandon was the one that set this whole thing up and says, hey, me and John and Katie and one of her friends or something, we're going to Renaissance Fair. Do you and Ryan want to come? I'm like, oh, cool. Because I was about to ask that anyway. I called Ryan. Hey, Ryan, you want to go to Renaissance Fair? Oh, yeah. I mean, I was working on this project, but I could use a break. Gets me out of doing this. And I was happy because I had nothing to do on that day either. So me and Ryan, we get ready a week in advance. We're so excited about this. He decides to go as a knight or something. I went as I think a magician or something, the Ken one, and we're just really excited. The car ride is around 3 or 4 hours. We're in the car and seems relatively peaceful for a while. Katie goes off into this whole thing about how our other friend, for lack of a better name, we're just gonna say Maze, he and her just weren't together anymore, and so her and her friend started talking about how terrible this guy is. And so I was about to say something because this same guy did a lot for Brandon and his other friend. Ryan stops me and just says, hey man, this has nothing to do with us. Let's just kind of enjoy our day. I really don't want to get into whatever this is. And I'm like, that's a good point. This has nothing to do with us. Let's try to enjoy our day. We get there and we see him, walking around, setting up stalls, picking up trash and whatnot. And this girl who, for whatever reason, I don't know why she decided to go dressed as a fairy. I don't know what that was all about, but she's stopping with her friend, taking out a cigarette for a smoke break every 5 minutes and giving him a death glare. And this happened so much that me and Ryan started kind of just walking slowly and having the group walk ahead as to not be associated with the group. And Brandon kept trying to keep us together. And we really tried to endure this for quite a while. It got to a point where he was trying to, or about to say something to the girl doing this, and then Brandon stopped him and said, "Oh, you know, I got this under control, and I'm out thinking everyone, and I knew this would happen or whatever," but then does nothing about it. In the midst of all this, the one that was driving, his friend, who will just say Benson, was the driver, and he was attempting to hit on her, possibly even her friend, while all of this was going down. And so at that point, I walked over to Maze, and then Ryan went with me and said, "You know, you want to just go somewhere else?" Because they seem pretty hell-bent on keeping that kind of flow going, and we didn't sign up for this. So we have nothing to do with them going at you, and we really don't care about your status with that person. We're just trying to enjoy our day. And he mentions, like, yeah, it's pretty messed up. People show up where you work to continue something that should have just been done a long time ago, because he was over it. So we went elsewhere and enjoyed ourselves at a nearby arcade, or I think dive bar or whatever. Yeah, it was kind of weird being dressed like that, but that's what happened. And Brandon went out of his way to remind us, oh, that's our ride, every time, you know, we tried to say something about Ben's behavior. And so he was really surprised when we stopped having anything to do with him, because he was the acting ringleader for that. And then finally, he got mad at, I guess, everyone else, because he was saying he couldn't deal with everyone's emotional BS, when Ryan finally told him, you know, you allowed that person to dictate the whole day, and she's going to call me and Kozmic moody when we're literally the two quietest people in the group. This person went over everybody, and you prioritized that, and so it was very inconsiderate to the rest of us. And we ended up both in our own way telling him that. For him, it was a lot lighter way, and for me, it was more heavy-handed when I told him how inconsiderate he was, and why I would not be going with him to any event like that. So I cut those friends off. And there's a reason why I mentioned this multi-layered situation, because that didn't just stem from one branch, which I'll get into further into the video. And so I also blame people who maintain friendships with people like this, because it's one thing if you don't know, it's another when you're hell-bent on being friends with somebody like that. Because you might not be doing it, but you also aren't stopping the other person from doing it. You also aren't just getting up and leaving, which is what you should do if you're going to make a choice in doing that. But there's a lot of people who think it's funny, they think it's cute, they think it's interesting to be that way, and it's not. It's actually extremely pathetic and should be shunned and looked down on worldwide. And I really believe that everybody needs to get on code, not just people in Japan, but just everywhere. People need to get on code and start stopping this behavior when you see it. I like the internet. I like what I'm able to see on social media and the fun stuff I'm able to do. But this just happens to be one element of it that I don't particularly care for and that I don't like at all. And I used to make a lot of jokes when I was younger. Jokes that I'm guessing, honestly, it offended no one. But no joke I've ever made has ever come close to this type of disrespect. Nothing I ever said ever caused this type of long-term damage. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I had, once again, so-called friends telling me that, oh, we don't like this, we don't like that, even when the jokes are about myself. So there is a misplaced, if not downright selective outrage, that I call it, when it comes to this. Because I rarely ever see divisive people stopping other divisive people. But then again, why would they? Because that's their element. And this next clip I'm about to show you is his friend also doing the same thing.
I don't care what it is. I wanna fucking gut your ass alive, motherfucker. Fuck you.
Hey.
Yo, check this out, yo, I didn't mean to. I pay money. I pay money. I give money. I take off. Look. Wait. Yeah, chill. Yeah, I give money. I didn't mean to.
No.
You don't need the money. You don't do like this.
Yeah, I didn't mean to destroy property.
We don't do that.
I know. I'm sorry.
We don't need money. You don't do like this in here.
I'm sorry.
So this isn't something that happens just when they're together. And then once again, he turns around and says, "Oh, I'm American," and stuff like that, which I'm not even 100% sure on. Because I've seen people who very clearly were not American screaming at the top of their lungs that they are. And that should be taken as a form of slander. But it's even worse when they actually are. It's even more embarrassing. Because I've seen the reverse of that. I once knew a guy that he was first generation. He walked, when I was in college, he walked in front of the VA where the students were studying. And I was there too. My dad's a veteran. And he was like waving this flag and saying all of this anti-Western stuff, talking about, you know, how he's really pro on that word that I really don't even want to get into, because that's a whole nother debate in itself, that ideology. And I just don't care. If someone wants to, you know, live in that way, they should go to where they can live in that way. And every place has its pros and cons, for sure. But don't go to a free place or a place that would have more freedoms promoting stuff like that, because someone's going to check you. It has little to do with it being good or bad, as opposed to it being just counterproductive to anything there. So it's just weird, you know, that a person would just go and do something like that. And I'm honestly just trying to hold in a bit of my own anger, because I view the action, be it local or foreign, to be just as disrespectful. It doesn't matter. If somebody is doing this kind of thing to you, it doesn't matter whether they are local or not. It should be shunned. And that's another issue that I see. People need to stop getting caught up with always trying to categorize something and just call something what it is. Bad behavior. Behavior that should not be tolerated. And I really hate the idiot sticks. That's what I call them. Like walking down the street, you know, filming yourself, and it's like this weird. And I'm not knocking on people that, you know, have good meaning and well intent and everything, but have a little consideration for the people around you. Not everybody wants to eat their food and be next to someone talking as loud as possible with a GoPro or doing that. If you want to take a picture of the food, I guess, or whatever, fine. But stop doing this. This isn't going to gain you any friends, and the only thing, well, assuming they even care at all, but the only thing it's going to do is eventually it's going to get played out and tired, and then you're going to fade into obscurity anyway. Stuff like this doesn't last long, but when you have so many people doing it, it seems endless. If he were to stop right now, someone just as easily would replace him in a day. So it doesn't really matter in that regard. But I'm still just taken back by the fact, why would a person spend money, travel to a place, be as disrespectful as possible for no reason, and then think that they're somehow in the right. And part of me wants to call it a mental illness, but I really believe it transcends even that, because at some point common sense needs to factor in, but common sense isn't so common anymore, and that's unfortunately the world that we live in. And now I'm hearing stories about us being banned from Kyoto, and you know, honestly, I really can't even be mad about that. Until people start acting right, they need to stop doing this, and more people need to start checking just the negativity of any culture, any place. You just start checking this. Now I'm aware you can't get to everybody, that's fine, but it needs to be made that this is not acceptable. When ignoring something has failed and something is not addressed in the right way, it becomes normalized. And I may have said this before, but allow me to explain to you how something becomes normalized. When you cannot joke about something and it cannot be addressed in any healthy manner, that is how you know something is on the way to being normalized. And when every small instance of it is being compared to the most egregious instances of it, it can no longer be taken seriously, even in cases sometimes when it actually is serious. It becomes like the boy that cried wolf type of situation. Now there's an actual threat, and everyone wasted their energy on every little thing, whether it existed or not. And now the big bad thing that you were saying everything was linked to, or attempting to try to normalize, now it's right in front of everybody, and no one knows how to deal with it. But I do commend the other people who are at least stepping in to check the behavior. I know that due to the culture over there, the average local typically is not going to do that, but I do commend the foreigners that are stepping up and saying, hey, don't do this. And they should, because it's just going to make life for you harder, regardless of whether he's American or either of these two. It doesn't matter. You should tell people where something is inappropriate. I remember having to deal with people like this growing up, to where they would, walk around and take out their phone and everything after they've disrespected someone, take out the phone and be too busy with that. And that's another thing that's like spitting in someone's face. It's this type of disrespect that actively shows you that this person should not be traveling anywhere. They should not be speaking on behalf of anyone. And if anything, they need to be working on their speech skills before they teach anyone. Much like some of the links or link that I put in the description. And normally I try to keep things light. I try to keep it a bit humorous. This isn't a case, though, of a joke gone wrong. This is a case of a person with bad intent, who is just going to be dishonest in every situation. So it's best to just not encourage the behavior. Don't donate anything, and you just get up and leave, because then they won't have content. I understand how difficult this is, especially when someone is just being completely obnoxious. And it becomes even worse when you come into a place that already has a fixed opinion about you or where you're from, and then somebody like that runs around and then doing stuff like that. And now it becomes, oh, all Americans are like this, all Americans are loud, all Americans. it shouldn't really be like that, because it's like a double-edged sword, because people wouldn't want that being said about them either. You can't get mad at the foreign person for acting a fool if you're not willing to check people going abroad. And some people have, and that's a good thing about it. There were actual Americans there. I don't know what he is, but actual Americans there that stood up and say, hey, no, stop this. And so far it's done nothing, because he's still at it. This is a type of person that is not going to learn. And there are people like that. They just want to be hated. They need to be hated. And I'm unsure if he is even on the level to be aware of what he's doing. I don't know, because once again, he could be very ill. But even still, the guy needs help. Shouldn't be running around torturing everybody else because he has an issue. He should work on fixing that. But once again, I hate that I even felt I need to talk about this, but I've been holding off for so long that I feel that it's very necessary. Japan's a very beautiful place with very kind, polite people, as well as many other places. And it sucks when people do this type of stuff, because it ruins the experience for everybody else. Now, when I do go, I'm going to always be having this thought in my mind: did I do something disrespectful on accident and not know it? This type of crap makes people self-conscious, even if they're not doing anything bad, because there have been people that have done very bad things. And I've had people in my life wrong me and try to smile about it, like the fake smile and everything too. I've talked about that in a previous video. But people should not be traveling to other places doing this, and it's very hypocritical to have this we don't want people coming here, but then you go abroad and you act like this. So people need to learn to keep that a buck above 100 here. If you don't want people acting a fool in your house, don't go to their house acting a fool. I've seen multiple videos of people talking about this, and yeah, this is just really, really sad. I'm just at a loss for words, and I'm just really at a loss of words that even what to say about this. The fact that it's still going on. But I do believe there are multiple branches and things that need to be addressed and called out, because this is not just some one-layered problem. This is a multi-layered issue from what I can see. And until people start looking at it that way, this will continue to happen, whether he keeps doing this type of content or not. Because I do not think I would have been as kind if I was traveling abroad and I saw someone doing that. I highly doubt that. You know, there are stereotypes and silly things that exist. Obviously doesn't apply to everybody, and nor should it be forced to apply to everybody. But I know that whenever I watch, certain animations and I see stereotypes about Americans, I'm able to laugh at it, because I know that on some fundamental level, even though it's an exaggeration, it's true to some degree, and vice versa.
Hey, fucking cowboy, fucking cowgirl, how the fuck are you doing? So tell me, are you kids on your fucking way home from school or something like that? Fuck, why don't you two buy a fucking hot dog from me, Mr. Kohei? Come on, baby, don't be cruel, you fucking cowboy! Tell you what, I'll give you the King Special with a ton of fucking ketchup and fucking mustard to go with those fucking hot dogs, and sell you the pair of them for 500 fucking yen. How do you like those bargains, baby? Oh, fuck you very much. Hey, are you lonesome tonight, you fucking cheer fucking girls? Fucking hot dogs for sale. Fuck yeah.
As long as it's done in either a humorous way or a way that does not deflect from the actual problem, and the other side is at least talked about as well, it shouldn't be this vast issue. But things become normalized where you can't even talk about it. And so this is a behavior that has become normalized because it was not properly addressed. It was either ignored for too long or addressed improperly. And this isn't me blaming anyone for that. This is just from what I can see, what I could analyze. And I hope that in the future, more people will do something about it. When I say do something about it, please do not take this out of its context, which is unfortunately another thing that a lot of people do. I'm not advocating anything. I'm saying that people do need to find a healthier and better way to address something, because you can't just go anywhere in the world doing this. That's gambling with your life. And I once told my friend who was acting in very similar fashion when we were younger, you're gambling with your life and I don't want to be near you. And he's like, oh, you know, same you and all. He just kept saying same you and oh, and that's a fact, and it just being very disrespectful. You couldn't tell him anything because he just had this air of entitlement around him. He didn't help his family. He didn't do anything for him. And he just managed to be a burden to anybody that even remotely tried to help him. And I've seen this too many times. You'll get some person, they'll go to a place they've never been to before, and you know, they'll have tons of people try to help them, and instead of just declining or just accepting what little help they got, they turn around and become very venomous behind it. Oh, they think this, they think that, they're like this. Just be happy they thought about you, period, because they didn't have to do that for you. So a lot of this is just disrespect laced with entitlement, ungratefulness, and just overall just nasty. And it's unfortunate that we live in a time where it's so common and normalized just be as nasty as possible to someone. The moment you feel even remotely slighted, just boom, just go off on it. But that's not what's happening here. And it hasn't been that way for a long time. I like being able to go to places where you can jog at night or walk and feel relatively safe. The elderly don't deserve this. People are just trying to live their lives. They don't deserve this. If you want to be part of something, I don't know, join a book club. Go and actually try to immerse yourself in the more positive elements of a culture. Don't be the negative thing that thrives in a place that doesn't have that. And here's another thing that people probably haven't thought about. What if there's a local or locals watching this guy and saying, oh, let's go do what he's doing? That creates another problem. So this is always going to be multi-layered. And until the branches start getting removed or cut from this tree of problems, this will always happen. And that's really just my thoughts on it. I can't really think of anything else to say on this. I personally hope that he gets put on a no-fly list or just banned, because this is level 100 obnoxious behavior. And it's been a long time since I've seen anything rival this. I've seen things that came very close, but it's been a very long time since I've seen these type of behaviors manifest, and it's just, frankly, it's just not cool. But these people that act this way, or anyone that has this personality, local forum, whatever, they just don't care. And so you really shouldn't care either. I'm not telling you to be like them or to be unkind or disrespectful back if you can help it. What I'm saying is, stop allowing these people to film. I've noticed the same thing in gyms. I don't even go to the gym anymore. I buy gym equipment and exercise in the house because of this very behavior. You have people going into the gym, lights, camera, action, oh, look at who's staring at me, and all this crap. And meanwhile, some people are just trying to live their life and exercise. Nobody is that important. And anyone who thinks that they are that important, they need help. It's one of the most ugliest traits someone can possess, and it's being glorified. And this monster needs to be addressed in a way. The monster of the problem. The tree just needs to either be addressed. You can't really cut it down because it's always going to grow back. But you don't allow the branches to stretch out and manage to damn near cause a fire by reaction. Anyway, frankly, I think I've said enough. I know I tend to make very long videos, as you could see when me and Mike or Craig do our anime reviews, but this was just a topic that I felt the need to talk about because I love a lot about Japanese culture. From the food to the music to film, animation, and this really does upset me to see this. So anyway, I leave you with this clip to try to end on somewhat of a lighter note, and I hope that anyone who happens to watch this or has watched this far will at least take that into consideration and possibly do their part if they know anyone that acts like this or does these things. It's best to just cut these people off and just keep moving, because you'll waste so much time with their garbage personality that it takes you away from your goal and what you have to do. And that was one of the things I learned growing up. Stop wasting time with people who have nothing to do with theirs. Because when they're not on their goal, they don't have dreams, they don't have aspirations, this is what they do. And then they attempt to try to glorify or martyr themselves to try to make up for it, but that's not cool either. So yeah, enjoy this clip, take care, and peace.
Why was El defeated?
What? That's wrong. I'm next. No, I'm next.
I try to envision the events that take place as individual elements. I can then make a note of each one, but I gain a better understanding when I combine all of these again as a whole, which is why I have very bad handwriting. Any other questions?
Oh, can you tell me if there's something that you're not good at, or maybe something that you're scared of?
Something I'm scared of?
What? Yeah, right. El's not scared of anything.
Well, I suppose monsters.
Me too. I am too.
Dummy, El's not the same as you.
There are many types of monsters in this world. Monsters who will not show themselves and who cause trouble. Monsters who abduct children. Monsters who devour dreams. Monsters who suck blood. And monsters who always tell lies. Lying monsters are a real nuisance. They are much more cunning than other monsters.
They pose as humans, even though they have no understanding of the human heart. They eat, even though they've never experienced hunger. They study, even though they have no interest in academics. They seek friendship, even though they do not know how to love. If I were to encounter such a monster, I would likely be eaten by it. Because in truth, I am that monster.